So welcome today. It's Digital Vino again. I know it's a bit confusing, but sometimes it's Wines of Italy and sometimes it's Digital Vino. Anyway, so today I'm back here, Katerina, of course, with Tina Morey, who is a good friend, and we also have some collab in the past with Lorenzo Montefiorelle and some other things. So I think it's I'm excited also to learn more about Tina, and also for all of you to learn more about Tina. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them. Let's start. So Tina, welcome. Do you want to present yourself?
Thank you. Hello, I'm Tina Morey. I run a Twitter program called Winestudio, and it's really just a virtual press trip. That's basically all it is. We gather on Twitter. It's a month long. Wines are sent to participants, and we gather, we talk about the wine, we talk about the company itself, the region, and anything special that my client wants to speak about. It's actually a lot of fun. I've learned a great deal from it, which is, I know like, it sounds kind of strange, but I've learned so much. And I know participants have learned a lot. A lot of people say that's kind of how they study about wine or how they learn about new regions. So yeah, it's interesting. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus just because of the pandemic and everything, but yeah, so hopefully we'll be back this year.
Yeah, no, I mean the pandemic is kind of, a lot of us have done much less when it comes to being in our online. Well, I mean we're a lot online, but perhaps we do less on our own stuff. So I was a bit curious because I know that it's more or less almost 7 years that you do the Winestudio now on Twitter. So how has it changed from the beginning through the years?
Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of time, huh? Or it's not, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, time is irrelevant or relevant. I don't even know. So Winestudio kind of, I don't know if many people know the story, but Winestudio came into being because I was running a wine think tank in San Diego. And I was living here. I had just moved, and we had started it, and I had just moved to the East Coast, and we're like, what do we do? Do we do this? I'm like, oh, let's just do it. I can do it from online. You know, this is kind of before everything was really online. And part of what Winestudio was about was kind of collaborating with other people. There was this one gentleman who is a fantastic wine writer, and he had a lot of connections. So we had wanted to put a wine club together. So I said, well, dude, why don't you write, and we'll do all the logistics. And it was great. We sold really well in the San Diego region, but I wanted to go farther, obviously, because that's what everybody wants to do. You want to get it out. So in the interim, we set up a shipping license, which was done fairly easily. And I started shipping wine to people. Then I'm like, okay, well now what do I do? I need to get it out even farther. So at the time, Twitter was kind of really, happening. Yeah. So I kind of dabbled my feet into Twitter a bit, and then I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to jump in now. So I started #Winestudio, which was part of the original business's name. And I mean, in the beginning, I was pretty much sending free wine to people, obviously, and that's how you start grassroots marketing, which I wanted to start. I didn't want to do anything sponsored, nothing like that. I wanted to start a grassroots because I wanted people to like it for what it was, and not because they had to, or they thought they had to. But after a while, the business kind of went to the wayside, as businesses do. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I've got this really cool program. I didn't want to give it up. And so I started to charge for it now that I had made some contacts. And so it kind of took off. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think I follow it since 2014 or 2015, probably. But
you've been in it a while, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great thing to learn about wine. Also, I mean, also in areas that you don't know that well. So I think it's a very good thing. So did you find it difficult in the beginning to get people to? I know that in those years the Twitter chats were really getting started and getting a lot of attention, but was it difficult to get kind of people who join in the beginning, or how do we?
No, no, it wasn't, because people are people. They wanted free wine, which is great, and I wanted that too. I'm like, I want you to want free wine, because I just wanted people on the program. I wanted people to just, because I love the wines. The wines are fabulous. And what was cool about this too is that we had artwork and everything. But anyway, that's besides the point. So yeah, so I wrote everything with my clients in mind, obviously. But yeah, folks were really digging it. And then folks were asking me, when are you going to do it again? Please keep me in mind for it, this and that. And at some point, I had to, kind of cap it at 12, 15 people, because I couldn't support, 25, 30, 40 people. So, yeah, it was good, because then those folks who started with us, the wine writers are now published wine writers, which is really good. Looks good for me. It's nice, right? So, but yeah, they're fantastic writers. So I was really lucky to get the caliber of writers that I did. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's for sure. So I see that also during the last year, during the pandemic, as many others, you started to also combine with. Well, we combined a bit already a couple of years ago with live streaming and the Twitter chat. But I also see that last year you did some Zooms, like for example with Susanna. So did you see that kind of also made more interaction, also in the Twitter chat?
It did, yeah. I mean, every time I collaborate or I have a client that it's completely different. It's just different every time with each client, which is fantastic, which I like. Because again, that I'm learning too. But every client brings something different to the program that sometimes I hadn't thought of, or the client hadn't thought of before, and it's a lot of fun. And then at the end of the program, I asked my client, well, what do you think? Did you think you got your money out of it? And they usually say yes, yeah. But no, they usually say yes, and there's usually not a problem. But you never know, it's funny. There was only one time where I had an issue, but I think that was my fault. I didn't get as deep into this client that I should have. So yeah, I never made that mistake again, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we then go over and talk about the grassroots marketing, because I know you said that the Winestudio is built, of course, on grassroots marketing. So, but how do you think that this is important versus sponsored marketing? I mean, I'm on the same idea as you, but I just want also your thoughts on how it's. I think it's even more important than now to have this kind of grassroots side to the marketing and to the.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's funny. I'm sponsored, but I don't really call it that deep, heavy sponsorship that you usually see out there that come with campaigns and press releases and all of that. Press releases nobody reads anymore. Just to say that, I'll get that out. So grassroots is pretty much just down and dirty marketing. It's just 1-on-1, 1-on-3, 1-on-5, just kind of getting background from people. And sponsored is, all of that, which you see, the big campaigns, the press releases, I mean, everything. And that would be, tens of thousands of dollars. And I did not ever want to charge that. I'm not even close to that. It's not what I'm about at all. Most of my clients from the get-go were pro bonos, which was fine. And then a lot of them were paid, which is great too, But it's funny. I've been seeing a lot of, like, on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you see these sponsored posts or whatever. And honestly, I'm usually just pass right by them. I don't know why, but I do. So that's why I think grassroots marketing is so important, because I think you really get into what your client wants rather than the bigger picture. Because right now we're seeing things are things have changed. It's not the same anymore. There's not the money anymore, right?
No.
Right. So people really have to kind of step back and say, as a client, what's important to me? What do I need to sell wine. So how do I sell wine? I think just being authentic, being honest, doing it with integrity, and just telling people who you are. I do think social or activism is really, really good. Social marketing is just doing something not for yourself but for somebody else. But of course, it helps you in the overall. There's so many restaurants that I can't open my doors to regular customers, so I'm going to feed the neighborhood, and it's kept a lot of businesses afloat because they've gotten money back, and that's the way to do it. And I think when you give back, you get a lot more back, and I think a lot of companies really need to take that into consideration, because at some point in time, things are going to be in real life again, and a plan needs to be put in place.
No, for sure. No, but I agree. I mean, I think as you say, with sponsored, which I also see as all these who work with doing ads and all over the place, and I also see a lot, especially here, that focus mainly on that. But I also think, like you, that in the long run, I don't think it gives that much result. Of course, you can have, you can target it to a certain audience, but if you don't know your audience, I mean, if you don't know who they are, they're not going to just pop up and buy your wines. I
do think, yeah. So the big thing now, of course, is data science, and that comes into play. So I think if you're putting the right message out there, what you get back is really what you're kind of digging into, and that's where you can then sell. But yeah, data science it really helps. But again, you've got to put your unique message out there, and honestly, it's just find out what works. You can't be like everybody else. That small winery can't be the big winery. So what's going to work? You got to figure that out. Whether it's a winery, put the winery dog on Instagram. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but as long as it's fun, it's engaging. People want to be engaged. Obviously, people want to be engaged. They can't touch. So right now, we need more. And at some point, these virtual chats, the Zoom, people are going to want to not do this anymore because it can be tiring at some point. So then what? So you've got to go to the people like you who grassroots, who really know what they're doing. And then you do you plan for the in real life again. What is it? IRL again. Jeez.
IRL in real life.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, as those of us who did live streams for several years before, of course, it also feels a bit like overload now with virtual meetings and things, because it feels like I do a lot now, but I don't do that much more than I did before. But I think there's an overload. So that's also normal in a period like this. So
I think so too. Yeah.
So I think it's just going to kind of go. I mean, it's going to become much less and less the more we can go out again. So and obviously also that we'll meet in real life or in person. So that is for sure. Is there anything else you want to add here, like that also connects to your wine studio, that you think is important to?
Just to use Winestudio, I mean, yeah, sure. Winestudio, it's easy. Honestly, it really is easy. For the amount of money I charge, it's very easy. I do all the work, and pretty much you just show up and answer questions. And honestly, the prep that's involved, it's just well done. I've been doing it a few years now, so I think I have it down to somewhat of a science. But again, a lot of winemakers who say no, I don't want to do it. It's too much, or it's afterwards they say that was a lot of fun. I don't know why we haven't done that before, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is you've got 1-on-1 or 1-on-12 or 1-on-15 or sometimes there's 100, 200 people who are online, listening in, and that's really an incredible way, like you've seen with yours.
Yeah.
That's an incredible way to reach people, and I don't know why. I don't know. And Zooms are great. Again, that's online though, your video, and that's another level of panic for people. I think it's a level of panic for me. That's why I like Twitter, because nobody sees me in my jammies at 9:30, 10 p.m. at night, typing away. So
no, that's very good. You have to be a bit more when you go on video. You have to think a bit more before that you kind of brush your hair and stuff like that, at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's not my
Well, I'm not very kind of, I just kind of, no, I just pop on as I am, but
that's your thing, your long hair, so that works really well for you.
No, but because I think it's important, I mean, that you're the same on camera that you're when they meet you in real life, because if you're something else, then I don't think it works. Because I see some people who kind of don't want to go on video, and then when they go, they kind of have to be completely perfect, and then perhaps you meet them at the tasting, you don't recognize them, because, and I think then it doesn't really work, because
God, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of stress of people also when they do photos and stuff, that they have to do them, if they show themselves, they have to be perfect, and everything has to I mean, I can understand that, but in the end, I mean, people see you anyway on press events or on tastings, so I mean, they know who you are, and I think then it doesn't really matter anymore.
There's no such thing as perfect, right?
Take photos in your pajamas or something. I don't mean that, but I think
I'm really not in my pajamas.
No, I wouldn't do that.
That's terrible. You never know. Yeah.
But then I can understand that people are probably nervous to show themselves sometimes. So, but
once you do it a couple times, it's
I think so.
Easier. It does.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, what did I wanted to ask? So, apart from the Winestudio, you also work as a sommelier every now and then, no?
I do, yeah. So putting the cert to work, yeah. But of course, so I work at Crystal Palette. Crystal Cameron Shad is the owner. She's wonderful. She opened, gosh, maybe 3 years ago. But she, since this hit last year, so she'll be closed for an entire year. But she's doing everything virtually, and she's thriving. She's now had people come in by appointment, which could work for a lot of people, and it works for her. But yeah, she's doing great. And now we started this one particular program called Sensory Workshop, sensory tasting. And when we were in person, people came in, and we had about 9 wines, and we also deconstructed those wines, the scents of the wines, and we had those deconstructed scents in glasses. So we had people smell and taste, and it kind of clicked for people. Yeah. So we hadn't done that, and then I'm like, this is ridiculous. We can do this. We can do this virtually. So we did it. We did it virtually. We did it for Valentine's Day. We did 375s of sparkling wine, 1 champagne sparkling wines, and then I made these little tins with the scents, and yeah, it worked out really well. We were sold out. So yeah, we're gonna do it again. Our next one is rosé. So yeah, she's fabulous. She's one of those educators who just keeps on trucking, and that right there, that is what works for her. She's genuine, she's an educator, and she's just stuck with that, and people have stuck with her. So that's a perfect example of doing it right. Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, I do follow her, well, thanks to you. And I think she does really cool things. So what do you think is the most important thing for a person who wants to get kind of into the understanding more about wine? To not feel trapped in snobbery or or feel afraid.
Is that still a thing?
I don't
Is
know.
snobbery and wine still a thing? God, I hope not.
I
Jesus.
hope not, but who
Okay.
knows?
I think you just gotta. I think you just gotta reach out to people. I think when I, it's funny. So I started as a pastry chef, right? So I went to New York. I studied as a pastry chef, and I loved it. And when everybody asked me for a recipe, I gave it willingly. And they said to me, "Aren't you afraid that I'll steal it or somebody else would steal it?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. Why would I even care about that?" No. The part about being in a service industry is that you serve people, right?
Yeah.
So that's the somm. That's the sommelier. You serve people, and that's why we're here to serve, and we're to serve and to do it better and better and better. So for those who are just coming into it, just come into it. Just live it. Just reach out to people. You'll know right away who you can trust, who you can't trust, because regardless of industry, people are people, no matter what.
Yeah. No.
So just gravitate to those people whom you like, thus you, and the rest will follow. And just be genuine, just be authentic, just be honest, just be yourself. That's basically it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So how do you see now, if we go over to something else also on the agenda, how do you see the future with social inclusion and things in the wine world? I guess it's still more of a question for the moment in the US. I think Europe doesn't have all these. It isn't the main thing on the agenda yet in Europe. But how do you see the future also for the wine world?
For just moving forward because of the pandemic and everything?
No.
Well, it's going to be a smaller world, I think, for the wine world, obviously. I think just for restaurants and somms and everything, I think things just got a little too big. I think some sommeliers think. Well, you've heard what happened with the Court of Master Sommeliers, and it's just, there's problems in everything. But I think when we think we're better, or we think that somebody can't, or people can't do without us, and that's when we typically fall. In fall, we did. But that's okay. It's how we learn. We pick ourselves up. So yeah, going forward, especially for wineries now. Now's the time to come up with a plan for when people return. You always have to have a plan in place, always.
Yeah.
But again, if you come from a place of integrity and honesty, you'll do fine. Just keep at it. But you got to have a plan in place. We can't be operating on, zero and think that that's okay. So many restaurants were operating just one catastrophe away from closing. How can you operate like that? But
no, I think a lot of wineries are a bit like that. Also, I think they have understood probably this year more than ever that they need a plan. But I don't know if that many have reached to that point yet where they have the larger wineries probably, but I think there's still a lot of smaller wineries who might be.
Well, what about, I think maybe it's time to just reach out to other businesses, food businesses, collaborate, pool your resources. There's nothing wrong with that. Do that for a while. And if it doesn't, and if it, you stay afloat, and then you part ways again. I don't know, or you stay together, whatever works. You just gotta find what works. Something always works. There's always a solution. You just gotta stick with it.
So, which would be your favorite? Which winery would you like to feature in the future on your Winestudio? Do you have any wine is things like I would really
crazy.
like to.
That's crazy. Any particular
Also wine area, I don't know. It doesn't have
wine
to be.
area. Yeah. There's still quite a few wineries or regions in the US I haven't hit yet. I'd love to hit those. Pennsylvania, Arizona. I would love to go back to, and I had Napa on the program years ago. I would love to go back to Napa because Napa has been hit hard.
Yeah.
So I would love to have a conversation with them. But of course, Italy, with you, that would be fun. Well, Montefiore, that was a fun program. So, and I'd like to think we helped a little bit with them because now I see them everywhere, not in a bad way, but everywhere, meaning people are talking about them and wines are being bought. So I think that's one particular instance where things just came together and it just was really well done. And they're just really good people.
No, I mean, I think they had a lot of benefits from doing the things. I mean, Winestudio and the other things they did that in 2018 when they celebrated 50 harvests. I think it's really given more and more result for every month now because it takes, of course, a while before.
That was in 2018?
That was 2018.
Well, 2000 was just, it didn't even happen. It happened, but it didn't happen, honestly.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, my God. Yeah. Well, what about you? What's in your radar?
Well, I would like to learn more about wine regions in the US because I don't know that much except for Oregon and Napa and a bit of Finger Lakes. But for the rest, I would like to learn more about the wine in the US. And then I would very much like to do some more collaboration and perhaps do some other Italian regions together.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
So we have to push that, I think.
I think so too. I think it's needed. Yeah, I would love it. Yeah.
And the last question here I had. So, if you would choose, which would be your favorite grape? If you would have to choose one grape.
Back in the day. That's so funny you mentioned that. Back in the day, when I had the company in San Diego, there was this one particular gentleman, a distributor who came in, and there's this one wine, and it was an Italian grape, Herboluce.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, that was amazing white grape, beautiful wines. And I had some that were aged about 7 years, fantastic, and then young, beautiful. Yeah.
That is a great wine. Also very underrated. There's not
very much so. Yeah. The ones that I've had were expensive. Obviously, I don't think it's made too often.
Because there's not that many producers who.
Yeah. What about you? What about you?
My favorite grape. Oh, that's difficult. Yeah. I think for the moment, well, of course, Sangiovese, but Sangiovese is a bit general. I think for the moment, I like Aglianico a lot.
Yeah. Big one. Big baby.
Also Piedirosso, but then I kind of have been drinking a lot of Campagna lately. So.
Oh, yeah. Good. Good.
So thank you for joining me today. It's been fun to learn more about you. And I'll put it up on the website that soon will be ready, so I can get.
Yes, thank you so much. It was good to see you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get to meet one day. One of these days.
Either in the US or here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have a nice evening, a nice day.
Yes, it is beautiful here. Oh my gosh, it's about 65 degrees where I am. It's gorgeous today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, and talk to you soon. And next week we will have Elisabeth Gebay as a guest from Master Wine. Yes.
Yay!
So I don't know what we will talk rosé wines probably, and her
Sure.
her background. So that's going to be fun. So I
Excellent.
hope you join us
I will be there.
next week. And so thanks again, Tina, and see you next Wednesday.
Thank
Ciao.
you, Katarina. Ciao. Bye-bye.